Okay, this ought to be fun. We got two of MMN's best here, and if I may just introduce them quickly, in the audience on my far left is Nat Wood, MNN producer extraordinaire. Nat Wood's been in the venue of public access for a very long time. We'll get a story of how long it is. Very actively involved in he produced 30 frames a second he used to do, and he works for Community Cop, and he's very, very knowledgeable, very hip, and it's so good to welcome you, Nat. So good to see you, looking so Natty Nat. We're going to start calling you Natty Nat, okay? Any Nat Wood, and my immediate left, old friend of conversations, everyone knows, I would think, who watches, that's Carl Pearson, attorney extraordinaire, and also he's now being billed as the new sheriff in town, because he's got an idea about the use of the attorney general as a major thing to benefit the folks and so forth. We're going to be talking about justice and such issues and communications. Gentlemen, welcome very much to Conversations.
Thank you.
Tell us about your new idea, Carl, about you're the new sheriff in town and how important the role of the Attorney General could be in terms of the way American society operates.
Well, the way I view it, and I have this on my website, Carl Person for NYAG.
That's the new one.
.com, yes.
Okay.
I just wrote it within the past several days. I explain how and why the elected office of the New York State Attorney General is the most powerful elective office in the whole world.
In the world,
in the entire
not just
world,
the United States.
Because that one office has the ability to cure the problems that we have now in the economy.
That's a staggering thing.
If it could do that.
Spell it out. Why?
It's simple. First of all, in order to understand what to do with the problem, you really have to understand what the problem is. The more you understand what the problem is, the clearer it becomes. The problem, as I see it, was no more than the lack of law enforcement. We had people running different agencies. We had purported enforcers of law, the Antitrust Division, the FTC, the SEC, and all of these different regulatory agencies, and we didn't know it.
And they all fell down on the job.
They didn't do anything. They didn't fall down on the job. Their job was to do nothing.
Really? You think it was? It wasn't
I
just
think so.
systemic?
They wanted to go back and get jobs with the Madoffs and the others. They didn't want to hurt themselves by regulating excessively. They wanted to go in there and learn the ropes, and then they went out where they can get that $1 million a year job.
Well, okay.
So they learned at the expense of the public, and they didn't do anything, and when they got out, they could then make it easier for the regulated people not to have to comply with anything.
It's a revolving door.
Right, but we lost the enforcement of law.
Okay, that's serious.
Yeah. So
also we lost sight of the
private people can't enforce the law because it costs too much money. If you're paying a lawyer $700 an hour and the lawyer says it'll take at least 500 or 600 hours on your case, do you have $1 million to give me?
Why don't the lawyers agree to take less money? Why are the lawyers taking so much money?
Because the judges require that judges require that we put in an enormous number of hours to comply with all the rules and regulations in litigation.
Is it becoming too complex to be managed?
I think it's becoming complex as a cost of as a barrier that rich people can meet the cost of litigation and others cannot.
Yeah, okay, right.
So the rich win in litigation, not because they're right, but they have the economics to do it.
Oh, right.
So what we need is a new game. We need a game changer, and that's where the new sheriff with a law book instead of a gun, and that's me, and I'm coming to town.
Where's the badge?
And I'm going to use the taxpayers' money to be able to enforce the rights of individuals. The rights of residents can be enforced with, and should be, with taxpayer money. Today we are enforcing their duties. We have people being put in jail all the time. We have too much law enforcement.
Yeah.
But law enforcement of the criminal law has been decentralized from the Attorney General a long time ago, and it was brought down to the county level. And we have so much county law enforcement at the criminal level that we have excessive law enforcement and we have prosecutorial abuse.
Yeah.
So how about having abuse the other way? How about having excessive law enforcement to try to eliminate some of the lawlessness that we've had? So if we take the civil side of the Attorney General and bring that down to the lowest level, which is the town and the city and the county, the town, city, and village, bring it down to that level, and you will have 40,000 people like me enforcing the law at taxpayer expense, and we will have the rights of the residents being enforced.
Somebody who would represent the rights of the citizens rather than enforce
and if you do that, we wouldn't have had the Madoffs.
Why don't we have that? Why don't we have that in the system as we've evolved the society?
Well, there is no elected town attorney general, but you don't have to have him be elected. Any town can tell its own attorney, I want you to slap a label on your forehead called Town Attorney General, or put it here. And from now on,
get a badge.
I want you to start enforcing the rights of the residents instead of looking to give them tickets and looking to put them in jail. We want to start enforcing their rights.
Is the legislative framework there for this kind of thing to happen? You have to do new laws or new structure
no laws
of the
at all. The town has a right to enforce law.
Well, all right, they have the right to enforce law, and
but they're not doing
Mostly it's the sheriff.
They're not doing it.
The sheriff in Nottingham was also one who would enforce the law against the people by the people living in the castle. And the law more or less takes care of the interests of those who are very well protected. And I notice most of the people who are poorer or in any kind of a minority status or something like that are very often not only not enforcing law in their favor, they're often shooting them down with guns.
Here's another aspect to it. A small town, the lawyers and the city council in a small town specialize in one way of dividing the economy, and that's called zoning. That's what they specialize in. All the meetings, the town meetings, center around zoning and exemptions, and that's all they know. They don't know antitrust, trademarks, copyrights, unfair competition, and fraud, and all these other things. What Wall Street specializes in as a legal proposition, the small towns have no idea what it's about. So people have been stealing,
citizens,
and the people and the big companies have been stealing money by getting away and having no law enforcement. They're free to steal, and they do, because we haven't set up our competitive fence. We have to know exactly what someone can do, but we don't have law enforcement. So and just the other day, Richard Posner did a total reverse. Richard Posner, who always said that we should have no regulation, the market should be totally self-regulated. He was a classmate of mine at Harvard Law School, and he's a Fifth Circuit judge, and he's a leader of the Chicago School. He just turned around and said that he made a mistake. He said the market is not self-regulating, and we have to have.
He said that.
Yes, he did. I have it in my pocket. I have it in my pocket right here.
No, you take it out of your pocket, Counselor. Take it out of your pocket.
How old is he now? I'm just.
He's 74.
74.
Yeah,
you're a 74-year total.
There he is.
Okay,
He's got it right there, chapter and verse.
Here it is. It was in Business Week.
He happened to have
this
it right
week
there.
in Business Week. Slapped by the invisible hand.
Yeah, well, that's something.
The hand was not invisible.
Well, I'll let him do it. He's going to show it. Look, everybody, let's bring it in on the camera. Okay, there it is, slapped by the invisible hand. Okay, what do you think of all this, Nat? What he's talking about? A person within the government that's going to support the interests of the people and their rights, as opposed to
I think we need
them.
a person in the government who's going to support the people in their rights. But if you think that any one person with any ideology is somehow some sort of transformational panacea, you have lost your mind.
No, I think he's talking about it in every village in New York.
It's not going to happen.
No,
well,
that's what they said about it. Yeah, okay.
No, it's not going to happen.
Okay, he says it's not going to happen.
Again, any person who is in government, who is dedicated to fighting for the rights of the people is a good thing. We need more people in government who think like you. But this battle is forever. Regulation. First of all, when we talk about guys like who was the old man that was Bernanke's predecessor?
Volcker? No, not Volcker.
Not Volcker.
Paulson?
Paulson. This idiot bankrupted the world. And and he was a very prominent idiot.
Oh, yeah.
In a very prominent position and well respected. And people told him the whole time that he was an idiot while he was doing idiot things. When Bill Clinton and that gang revoked Glass-Steagall, lots of people knew that that was a suicide solution, and it was going to wreak havoc on the planet.
Yeah.
But they did it anyway.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They were enamored. Yeah.
Regulators did not just coincidentally do nothing. It was in their best economic interest to do nothing. Bernie Madoff did not operate in a bubble. Regulators was up his rear end night and day. They knew exactly what the problems were. However, they were paid by the same people that they were sworn to regulate.
Yeah, well, that's what he's saying, that's the case. That's the system since Hammurabi, I think. It's always been they serve the interests of those who are rich and powerful, and there's not a good serving of the interests of the folks. It's been like that ever since forever.
I saw a movie, True Grit. I saw a movie, True Grit, with John Wayne.
Yeah, I saw that movie.
And John Wayne was talking to a person sitting at a table, and they were talking about going out and bringing these dastardly
bad guys in.
Right in.
Oh.
And a rat ran by.
Yeah.
And John Wayne pulled out his gun and shot the rat and killed him. And he turned to me and said, "You cannot read a writ to a rat. You
cannot read a writ to a rat. That's good.
You either kill him or leave him alone." We are trying to read writs to rats. Human nature of this system dictates that the sheer magnitude of the greed, and again, they have circulated money that will never exist to every single human being on the planet. They have built worlds with money that will never exist. There is no possible way to rectify this. And whatever you come up with on the logical side, they will come up with a counter on the greed side, and they do indeed have the power and the wherewithal to impose their will.
What do you say, Counselor?
Well, number one,
never
there's a lot
heard
of truth.
an encouraging word.
There's a lot of truth to what's said.
Yeah, right.
However, and that is that we've seen that prosecutions take place too often, and they're too successful. That is, we have a 97% conviction rate.
That high?
Yes.
Good God.
We have 97% of the people pleading guilty, even when they're innocent, in order to be able to plea bargain. Plea bargain says, look, we'll give you 2 years, even though you're innocent. We just don't want to have to go through a trial. But if you go to trial, we will hit you with 30 years.
Yeah, right.
Whether you're innocent or not doesn't matter.
Blackmail.
We get a conviction 100% of the time. When you go to trial, you will be found guilty, whether you're guilty or not.
And you notice that most of the people that are found guilty and filling our prisons, 2.5 million,
the people who are
they
found
tend to be
guilty,
either black or brown.
The people who have $1 million to defend themselves, do they get off or not quickly?
If the people
If a people have 1 million or 100 million to defend themselves in criminal charges, federal court, do they get off or not?
They seem to get off.
They do not.
Usually.
They do not.
They
do not.
They do not. They
No?
all go to jail.
Really?
Yes.
Well, those people who are
O.J. Simpson
designated
was not federal, but he's
to
an
fall
exception.
on the sword go to jail. But in point of fact, you would have to put all of Wall Street in jail. You would have to put all financial, all of them.
It's the system. It's not any
You're
particular
switching.
person. You're saying it's the system.
Correct.
It's systemic.
Correct.
Yeah.
There are some folks designated to fall on the sword.
You're
they do
switching.
indeed go to jail.
Okay.
But the bottom line
Okay.
is this. The bottom line is this.
90.
Whether it's 97% or 99.9, the fact of the matter is that the planet is in debt to the tune of $720 trillion.
That's what Ev Dirksen.
$720 trillion.
It can't be repaid.
That would be.
It's impossible. People have lost their homes. Anybody who bought a home in the year 2006, 2007 will never, ever, ever recoup that money. It will take them 30 years just to break even. They are underwater. That is not going to be rectified. I don't care how many 1 or 2 guys you put in jail for a system that is...
Okay, number
well,
one.
he's trying to get an agency that could
I
support...
want to release people from jail. I
he
want to
wants
have
to
fewer people in jail.
This guy's on...
I'm really heading for the victimless crimes. Shouldn't really be crimes at all. We should have, everyone should be able to own a casino. We ought to have free gambling where people can play poker and not be put in jail for that, and have poker police storming in and breaking up a poker game. I mean, all of this is nonsense.
Unless, of course, the cards are marked and the dice are loaded.
No, that's regulation that we need. We need to have fraud. The regulation against fraud would have cured everything if we only had regulation against fraud. Now, the criminal...
You have judges who said that regulation... I mean, you have very prominent people, people from Harvard, who sat and looked right into the camera and said, Ronald Reagan looked right into the camera and said, the problem is that we are not letting them do their thing. These are good people.
Now their leading guy has come back and said that we were wrong.
They did their thing?
Yes, after we are $720 trillion in debt.
They have the money. They've stolen the money.
Have they said we've made a boo-boo?
Oh, they're coming back and said it.
They have the
they're
money.
all saying, oh,
they got the money. They have the money.
But it's party over.
Yeah.
But here, going back now, with criminal prosecutions, it's very effective. It's too effective, and too many people go to jail, people that don't belong in jail, because we have enforcement at the county level. It's not enforcement up here, it's enforcement way below the state level.
Really?
There's 52 counties in New York. Every county has an elected prosecutor who's a state official, but he works at the local level, down at the county level. So we have too much prosecution, and why? They all want to become president. So they convict everyone. They brag. They actually brag about having a 100% conviction rate. When I know that means that at least half the people convicted were innocent. They would have gotten off if they had a fair trial. So let's just take that concept that you have excessive enforcement of the criminal law and it works too well. How about civil law? Let's bring it down to an even lower level. Instead of having only 52 prosecutors, how about one for every town, village, and city in the United States, a town attorney general. There's 40,000 towns, villages, and counties. Having us be the enforcer where the SEC has failed to enforce it. One person at the SEC says, I don't want to enforce it. But with 40,000 people making that decision, we will have far greater enforcement civilly than we have criminally. And that's a good thing right now. We need that. We need that.
And they could represent the interests of the people.
Only the people in their area. So that we have people in an area going to have prosperity if they will only do the right thing for themselves. We can bring prosperity to one town and not to the next. If the town wants prosperity, I'm giving them a free...
Oh, wait a minute. You talked at one level there, you talked about having it all over. Let's say
I would like it.
New York.
I would like it all over.
Every town could have a person who would represent the people against the special interests that oppress them, right?
We don't
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we don't have, but we don't have any town at all in all of America with a town attorney general.
I know we don't have
but
it.
if we had one, if we just had one,
okay, that's different.
That
that's
town
the model.
could have prosperity.
That
one town could create prosperity for itself, because the town attorney general would be looking out after the interests of the residents of the town and the small business, and we would set up a tuition-free equivalency college. We would set up an area-wide payroll administrator so that the small business could hire people, and we would have a replacement for the job marketplace, which is diminishing, and it's a task marketplace where all of the people in the town put their tasks in a database, and we market that. So
and you did that. You ran a private sector school for paralegals. It was the first thing ever, right? And how long did you run that?
18 years.
18 years he was doing a way leading edge kind of thing like that, so you know about that. But it's interesting because on one land you're talking about a systemic thing where you got an attorney general representing the people. So somebody's being oppressed by some powerful interest in the community, and there's a place where that person is being oppressed or bullied by the system. A person in the system could go in order to protect his rights. It seems to run counter to the bullying nature of the system
Attorney
itself.
General from being corrupted?
Yeah, how do you keep the Attorney
How
General
do you,
from
how
being?
do you keep him
thank you.
from? When I bring in the millions and millions of dollars to him to get him his job, how do you get a guy to say no? There was one director of the FBI. He was thoroughly corrupt, a god unto himself. His name was J. Edgar Hoover. How do you assume that a position, any position, I mean,
is corruptible. Any
every
person.
position.
You assume any human being is corruptible.
The
Are there
devil
any
was
people who are
God's
not
number one
corrupt-
angel.
Well, no, but I'm saying, are you thinking that are there any people who are not corruptible? We had
Yes,
Clarence
but
Darrow
that's in
used
the
to fight for the
that's in the
oppressed.
person,
yeah.
not the position.
Yeah, but if you got an Attorney General, it'd be an individual.
No,
it might
but,
be a
but
thing.
it's not in the title of Attorney General.
Oh.
It's in the person.
Okay.
And there will be people, far more people who are corruptible, going for the jobs of Attorney General than there will people who are not corruptible going for the jobs of Attorney General.
I see
By
the
definition, he is more difficult to corrupt. He is not the Attorney General.
You can't corrupt Carl Pearson.
And
I
he
know.
ain't the
I
Attorney
tried.
General.
I couldn't do it.
And
no, he
he
wouldn't
ain't
do
the
it.
Attorney
He wouldn't take
General.
my bribe. I offered him a
Do you
steak, and he wouldn't
understand what I'm
take
saying?
it. Yeah.
He's not the Attorney General.
No.
Maybe if he was more corruptible,
He'd be able to have a chance at it. Right. You got to be corrupt.
General.
You got to be corrupt to get ahead in this system, right? Yeah. Talk to it a little bit.
Well,
the issue. Yeah.
Because I'm taking the Attorney General down to the lowest level
Right.
of government. The amount of money that it takes in order to run for office down there is really what it costs to resole your shoes. A person can walk around.
Okay, so
you can go door to door with a team of 10 people. Each person has 250 homes.
At what level are you talking
At the town of 7,500 people.
7,500.
That's 2,500
okay.
homes.
Right.
10 people, 250 homes each can knock on the door, get the email address, and you now have the ability to reach everyone in town at no cost.
And you're thinking, you're trying to reach a model.
Yeah,
it could be a model for
that
others.
is correct.
So you get people. He's not corruptible.
No.
Are you? I've got a checkbook here that he's not. No, but there are people that aren't, and it's within.
But how do you
reach.
get around Bloomberg 70 mil?
That's why I can only
How do
work
you
at
get
the
around
bottom.
Bloomberg
I can't deal at the
70
top. I got to deal at the
well,
bottom.
he's not asking to deal at the top. But you
Again,
get a model.
The mayor for a
If you-
billionaire, by definition, shouldn't be the top.
If the man could get himself elected in the 7,500, you said that 7,000.
You can do it with shoe leather. You can
You could
knock on doors. You don't need money.
If a good man could get himself elected there, is there a legislative arrangement in which the authority within that system is levied out,
It's the mayor that needs to,
if
or
a
the
man
council.
or a man or woman could get himself elected there and everything, could they actually have a context within which they could operate in the interest of the people?
Well, as it is now,
You got the same judges.
let me
and things.
explain how attorney generals are elected. There are 37 elected attorney generals in the United States and possessions, and the rest are appointed.
Oh.
The U.S. Attorney General is appointed. The town attorney general today in the 40,000 towns, villages, cities, and counties
40,000
would have to be appointed.
Appointed
There's
by
no
whom?
elective by the city council and or the mayor or the manager of the town.
And could they vest powers in that attorney
It's only a
general that
lawyer.
aren't there already?
No,
Are the powers there within this
they're
office?
there already. The town can sue people
What
that
if
hurt
all
the
of
town.
those people are corrupted?
Well, you're going to have.
Well, you're getting a little bit. Let's give a little possible window of a little candle light.
I'm just dealing with
No, I know.
reality. I mean, you
I
can
think
imagine.
out of 40,000 people, half
How would
of
the
them.
City Council of New York? You're talking New York.
No, he couldn't be talking New
You got
York.
Barron. You got interesting
The
people
town
that are on there.
attorney general is a natural competitor of the county prosecutor because the town attorney general will have to sue the prosecutor on occasion.
Okay.
The town attorney general is going to bring money and opportunity into the town. What does the prosecutor bring?
How does he bring money
Misery.
and opportunity?
He doesn't. The prosecutor brings misery into the town.
Okay.
They break up families. They put people in jail. The prosecutor is not a healthy thing for the town.
I would say, and it's also very racially meted out.
So
that so-called
the
justice.
town attorney general has a natural competition with the prosecutor to achieve the hearts and minds of the people in the area. And the town attorney general is going to win this race because he's bringing positive benefits to the town instead of putting people away in jail.
Is he going to get benefit by suing Uncle Scrooge McDuck that owns the big house out on the end of the lane? You know, he's going to bring suit or something effectively within the system against the people who have all the money and influence within that town.
Let's say that
he's going to come up against the local
insurance
big
company
shot.
is using selection of people with prior disabilities, and they're not fair in that respect. The Attorney General of the town could bring suit and stop that. The Attorney General could bring suit against somebody that took subsidies and then took their business out of town and kept the subsidy money. So the Attorney General could sue them for recovery of the money and the benefits that the hospital gave their employees.
And he's not going to run into a bunch of buzzsaws protecting the interests of the rich and powerful who hold all the money?
Well, I think,
it seems to me that might be work.
I have gone up against the biggest people in the world.
You have gone
I sued the Pope.
You sued the Pope?
I did, yeah, just to start off.
The Pope of Rome, not the Pope of New York. Yeah.
And I sued the Pope and the Archdiocese of New York on behalf of a priest, a Jesuit priest, who told me that years ago, 20 years ago, he had given $1 million to the church that he inherited when he took the vows of poverty. And he said he never had any idea that he would be living with homosexuals as the way that they were going to support him.
And pedophiles.
He said he never bought into that. So I said, well, let me bring a suit to see if we can do something about it. So I brought a suit to obtain a divorce for him from the church.
Wow.
Okay.
Was it thrown out as frivolous?
Well, no. The court said that I was 20 years late in bringing it. That he should have sued 6 years after the fraud.
Oh, I see.
And not 26 years after the fraud. So, so the court said yes. I see.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations, but it was an interesting suit, and it was really. It had to be very careful to avoid any kind of church dogma, because the minute you hit dogma, you're out.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. There's a statute of limitations. There's a statute of limitations that would protect the church if you bring a suit late against them. However, there is no statute of limitations for a landlord who says you owe rent. The system itself, is top heavy toward the rich.
Absolutely,
now,
always has been.
Even if you're talking about Mayberry, RFD, they build homes in Mayberry. That means the construction industry is in Mayberry. They have banks inMayberry. The system itself is top heavy toward the rich, and the only way you can create wealth is to do just that, create wealth. The speed that the rich are getting richer and the poor is getting poorer is
incredible.
I mean, and accelerating, and it's getting faster and faster and faster.
It's because we haven't enforced the law. If we
the people that make the law and enforce the law,
they're
getting there and they're all time rich.
They would argue that.
They're all one system.
The foolish people who live in towns and villages and counties all believe that the government at the highest level is protecting them. And now we know that nothing like that has ever happened. We need to have the power of law enforcement at the lowest level of government as a direct deal.
That's an interesting idea. And the idea, again, is trying to get a model.
Well, the model is having it be at the local level.
Stand out like
the local level is your model.
The dark,
the local level is your model. The rest of it, having a town apply to the state for permission to sue somebody is a ridiculous concept. If the town has a problem, they have the power under law to deal with it. Their attorney can bring suit on behalf of the town or the residents, and that's what they should have been doing. But instead, they were focusing on zoning as a way of letting Walmart come in and wreck everyone else in town.
Well, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens, they would say,
what we need to have
good
is
policy.
We need to have law enforcement. We need to have a more sophisticated sheriff, one that doesn't know how to use a gun, but will use a law book in order to
Help
be
me
able
out
to
with
have
the role.
economic justice.
You're a student of the law and history and that's the sheriff. I remember the fable of Robin Hood. And then the sheriff of Nottingham, if I'm not mistaken, was a son of a gun.
Right.
Okay.
Am I not right?
He was
Right.
enforcing.
The sheriff was
Right.
enforcing against the people.
It was the king's
and
game.
it's still like that.
The poachers were taking
Correct.
the game
And that
from the
makes
king's
it a
force.
little difficult
Correct.
to see how...
M&N
Yeah.
is Sherwood Forest. That's why I'm at M&N.
This is Sherwood Forest.
This is Sherwood Forest.
Yeah,
This
right.
is Sherwood Forest. This is the people's gathering place. People like to say, people in their grandiose moments like to say that they are bringing a voice to the voiceless. I don't bring a voice to the voiceless. I bring a mic to the micless.
Voice, okay, that's good. That's different.
People tell their own stories. I don't go out and tell people stories for them. What I do is bring a television camera and a microphone and a place to air the concerns and issues of the people.
Of the real people.
Of the real people.
You do it.
Sometimes.
Some of those things, 30 seconds, 30
frames a
have been
second.
Great.
Sometimes.
Good editing. A lot of it,
Sometimes when the tide is just right and enough people get behind an issue, they can do remarkable things.
Okay.
They can keep an 86-year-old woman in her home.
Okay. Is that Florence?
That's Florence.
Florence
right.
Rice, an angel,
They
certified.
They can take an obscure case of an African getting shot in the hallway, and the people can take
Mr.
it and
Diallo?
and run
Sean?
with it and run with it until Hollywood gets involved and every politician, politicians who would never show their face anyway, any place or anything that has anything to do with the people because it's not practical, suddenly find themselves that it's impractical to be on the wrong side of this issue, to be on the wrong side of the people.
Well, what you're talking about is the same kind of thing he's trying to do at the level. No, what's the difference? What's the difference?
The difference
Or he's
is
trying to get it in the system.
No, the difference is that I am in complete agreement. We need people with a focused mind who are not so easily corrupted to do their job to represent the people.
I'm testifying. I want to testify. I want to testify that on this set we have two incorruptible good people, Nat Wood and Carl Pearson. We want you to do your good work.
I'm not running for anything. I'm not running anything.
You're not running
for anything.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not even waving a flag saying I'm so incorruptible. Although I'm probably more incorruptible than most.
I've been out with you on a couple
I'm,
Saturday nights, pal. You
I'm
better be careful. You're under oath. Is he under oath,
I'm a son
counselor?
of a gun, but I'm not patting myself on the back.
Okay.
What I am saying is that no matter how corruptible he may or may not be, how corruptible I may or may not be, that places like this that can go out there and allow people to speak in their own voice is ultimately the best opportunity this world has to do something to affect change.
Thank you. I agree with that. I'm a full supporter of public access.
Any politician,
listen,
any legislator or any politician to be our Lone Ranger, we are dead in the water.
What,
did you ever see Blazing Saddles?
Let me
I just saw Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
That's
what
a great
would you
movie.
do if I gave you the email address of every single resident within one of our city council districts? Would you be able to work with that and do something with it?
We're all over the city council.
Well, what would you do? No, not the city council. There's a physical area
the people,
in Queens of about 30 square miles that one council member represents. If I gave you the email address of every one of the 200,000 people or whatever it is that lives within that district, would you be able to do something with that?
Probably, although I just
How about looking at your show, number one? You could do shows and have an audience where your entire... You could bring in an entire area.
You mean by the internet?
By email, free email.
Yeah,
so
free
what
mail,
I'm going to do
video.
to go into a town is I'm going to knock on every door and get 7,500 email addresses, and I'm going to be able to do a weekly newsletter to them explaining the things that they need to know in order to make their town better. Well,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, well, that's what I plan to do.
And if you can get a model going, it's great.
Yeah.
We're just singing hard, but God bless you.
It's hard at the city level.
What could we do to help you? And also, I want to get one thing. We do anything we can to help you in that because you're really good, and same with you. What about you? Brought some pictures in that.
Yeah.
What are they? And maybe we could try and get that in because we run out of time before you know it.
And he could play them at his leisure.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at them and see what's on. But basically, they're situations and people who are involved in MNN or situations that I have encountered while videotaping things around.
Okay, Willie, why don't you start running those pictures and you can turn your head and comment on them and everything. But remember, you got the mic on your right. There you go. Okay. Talk.
All right. Now, that was at the birthday party for Pam Africa. Pam Africa is she leads the movement for Mumia Abu Jamal.
All right.
That's a community cop. Lucas. That's Noel Leader and Father Lawrence Lucas from community cop. We were trying to keep a school in Brooklyn operating that does not get the funds and whatnot, so we're desperately trying to keep that school open. It's a school that has tremendous success. Is
that the guy from Community Cop?
Yeah, that's Noel Leader.
Good guy. That's a great program.
Yeah,
you direct that, don't you? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Mas, Otra.
So you have a Community Cop, Noel Leader and Father Lucas. Before then, you had Dr. Camille Yarborough. Both Manhattan neighborhood.
That's Ancestor
Correct.
House. Great
both
program.
Eminent
really
producers.
Good. Now let's go to the. You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, you can go to the next one.
Willie, go to the next, or George, whoever's moving the slides. That's still the same one. There we go.
That's Melvin Simmons. Melvin Simmons. I work with Melvin. Melvin worked for WBAI for years and years and years. Together with Melvin. Oh, that's me right there. That's in Haiti. If you.
Where is that?
And that's Florence Rice's 91st birthday that we had at MNN. That was at Pam Africa's birthday party. That's at a demonstration for Sean Bell. That's Veronica Kitt and
Veronica's great.
That's Paul Washington from the Vulcans. That's Camille and Laverne and the great Florence Rice.
That's Florence. Florence Rice is a real pioneer.
Yeah, that's the Sean Bell thing.
Is that Florence in the city?
Now, these are just some of the issues. These are just some of the things that we've dealt with. You know, this is like the tip of the iceberg. And these are stills that I shot. That's Woody. He does the thing with foster care. An incredible activist. All of these people are activists.
Another thing that's racist, the foster
that's Haiti. That's Haiti. Those are kids waving to me from the bus.
There's Cedric. Is that Cedric?
No, that's David. He's with the New Black Panther Party. That's Lynn Stewart.
Oh, Lynn, she had to go inside, right?
Correct.
How long did she get? Do you know?
I don't think it's decided yet.
Oh, really?
Right, I don't think so either. That's G2 Ausi. He's an educator. Lynn Stewart again.
Yeah.
All right, you can. That's probably. We could probably go back. That's C. Vernon Mason. I mean C. Vernon. Oh my God. Alton Maddox. That was at the Sean Bell demonstration. Justice for Sean Bell.
Yeah.
All right. You can cut the pictures and we can go back now. That's
okay. That's Florence. End with Florence. That's wonderful.
But I just want to give you. I just want to give you some indication of the types of things that go on at MNN. The Sean Bell demonstrations. We've been inside Haiti. Mumia Abu Jamal. Police corruption. Police brutality issues. This is just the tip of the iceberg of things that are dealt with. And I don't speak for the people. I'm not the voice of the people. The people are their own voice. Like I said, I'm not the voice for the voiceless. I'm the mic for the micless. I give people an opportunity to speak their own truth, to explain for themselves. I'm not a PhD with a book telling you what I think that people are going through.
piled higher and deeper.
Correct. The people themselves who are going through it.
I think he's a pretty good voice. Don't you think? I think he's a pretty good voice.
Both of us are needed.
Good stuff to me.
Both of us are needed. You bring out the problems, and I have to select from them. I can't handle every problem. I've got to limit what I do to the greatest good for the greatest number or something like that.
Right. And also looking for models and everything.
Well, so, if 40 different problems come to me as Attorney General for a small town, I really have to look at the resources I have and what is best for the community. You know, I can't just take everyone's problem. We have private lawyers, and it's very difficult to hire a private lawyer, but we have big problems and smaller problems. I've got to find the bigger ones.
Well, we got big problems, and we're at a point, well, maybe I could veer off in the kind of thing like me, if you don't mind. I don't know. It seems to me that we're at a situation now, we all came here about 200,000 years ago. We're descended. I saw there's been about, the best estimate, there's been about, in the history of mankind since 200,000 years ago when we first evolved in Africa, about 100 billion human beings have existed on this planet, and we're the surviving generation. And we finally got to the point where, at least in modeling that I can find and everything, we're so clever with extending our consciousness and setting up systems and so forth, that we finally got to the point of hitting each other over the head, nation by nation and people by people. We finally got to the point where the weapon systems that exist abstractly, in terms of their capability, have become, for the first time in 200,000 years, 10,000 generations, species lethal. Correct. We got it to where if there was an unleashing, there are weapons that we don't know about, I believe. Yes. And that's an existential new reality at a species level. And it's very worrying to me that they might be unleashed in some sort of spasm of irrational. It wouldn't be anything. It'd have to be something that would set off the weapons systems of the United States of America. And I don't know, it wouldn't take a hell of a lot. It seems to me if they lob 4 or 5 atomic weapons in existential
half the world and the other half live.
Well, if they were to elect, it's really hotting up with Iran now, and if they were to extend 5 or 6 missile tipped with atomic weapons out of Tel Aviv toward the capitals of the Arab states, that might begin to get something going to where you'd get a thing. You know, it could happen because the emotions
set off
so
nature itself.
The point, though,
tsunamis
the point being is that that's existential new. We couldn't do it in the Second World War. That's a point I'm hearing. Now, on the positive side, do you think we're also got a tremendous technologically augmented capability of providing for everybody that we haven't had? There are more haves and have-nots on a percentage term through time. Now, if that's axiomatic, that means that a higher percentage of the world population could be seen to be haves in terms of our abstract technological ability to provide life support. We would cross the 50% mark. Those two things, we would at some point, on a percentage basis, at the level of capability, the system that we're working with, all told, that we would cross the 50% mark. Hence, that would signal that there would be more haves and have-nots at a level of capability. You have to get definition and terms. An existentially significant thing on the positive side that's going on all unnoticed, just as the weapon systems cannot be released. It's that level of capability. But it's existentially new time here on planet Earth. You're saying we'll never get out of it, but we're going to have to subsume history and have big change, a paradigm shifts as we come here to the end of this 200,000-year venture we've been on this planet, and we lack for vision of how to deal with that reality.
Let me throw just one factor in there. A client of mine has a device that will create energy, and most effectively, so that there's enough energy to clean all the water that you need in the world, to have as much clean water.
Desalinate?
So that we don't need oil at all.
That would be huge.
We don't need oil at all.
Is around the corner.
We don't need oil.
Yeah.
It's doable right now to have energy for all, so that if we have energy for all, we don't need oil, we don't need war.
Well, but how could I make a buck?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different story.
That is the story.
No,
it's a big story to me.
That is the only story.
How am I going to keep this ship afloat?
With nanotechnology and with other advances, food can really be made sufficient for everyone, where we don't really need to buy food. It should be available for all.
But how does that help Goldman Sachs?
Suppose you extend it out.
The problem is, how do they, I mean, we're slaves right now to the economy.
Well,
basically.
We are. Everything is that.
Okay. It doesn't have
and
to
we
be
don't
that way.
have, but listen, if you're transcending scarcity, economics is the allocation of scarce resources. Everything has been scarce.
Right.
So in order for me to gain, I got to go steal the grains from somebody. And they got to do that. So if you're talking about a qualitative...
You can't catch a fish without giving someone somewhere some money anymore.
Well,
there was a day, there was a time where you could go out and get some food.
The old creek down by the by the old mill pond.
Catch a fish.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's all going like that.
But if energy is no longer scarce,
well,
that changes your equation dramatically. And we know that food is going to be abundant if energy is there for the taking and at no cost.
Thank you. It's true. There are you mentioned. You only just mentioned nano. It's just coming. They're going to have building materials that are 10 times, 100 times stronger than steel, and they're going to be totally, you know. So we got the capability of providing in a way, and we're not, all of our institutions are outdated. The law, the Attorney General, the system, the economic structure, everything is outdated by a system that is being qualitatively transformed at the level of capability. And we'd better get it together to where we can include everybody within a context that has not, but understand, it's not characteristic of history. History is a nightmare of injustice by the strong lording it over and stealing from the poor. And that's still going on, and the institutions are still there.
Starting at the lowest level, we can change that. I can't imagine change starting at the top. You can't have all our institutions changed up there, but in a small town, you can do wonders in changing things.
You have to pay for water.
You have to pay to go to the bathroom.
Why would you
what
assume?
kind of a system?
Why would you assume? I mean, I had this same conversation with you years ago about the internet, and I kept telling you that sooner or later they were going to make absolutely, positively sure, because you were convinced that this new technology was in and of itself liberating, and that it was free to all. And I'm saying no, that there is a core of megalomaniacs who control everything that will never allow anything to be totally free.
You never get to be a maniac, a leader, unless you're a megalomaniac.
Correct.
They're all megalomaniacs and everything. And that's the way it's been since forever.
You're paying for water.
So the question is, are you optimistic, pessimistic? Because if we have that, and then you have the, if they have a system that is not in keeping with the way we're going to be able to liberate everybody, then there's a very real danger that they are going to blow the whole thing up. And we'll just join entropy. And is it possible that that's what it's all about, is we got to this point, and then let's just destroy this part of consciousness? And the point is, it's existentially new. So you got to have something that can people think about something new and different than the historical patterns. That's all. The technology is part, I mean, the communications technology is part of it, but it's much larger than that. And also, if you get to the point where there is enough, it's a whole different context in terms of seeing human nature as inherently evil. No, greedy. No. It's not inherently greedy necessarily if there is enough. No, but I think you go to the big pattern.
I've been trying to impress upon you the fact that there are two dynamics involved here, and that neither side is about to go down easy.
What are the two sides?
The
side that wants to destroy the species?
Correct.
And the side that wants to liberate the species?
Correct.
We had a program with Isaac Asimov the
and
other
you
night.
have to be an active participant. That is the lesson we learned.
Okay, I did.
Sitting around worrying about the end of the world is not going to keep the world around.
Well, okay.
But you have to be an active participant in what you believe.
Yeah, but you got to have some idea of what the hell you're doing in order to do it. I don't think it's necessarily wrong or inappropriate to be I think the problem is not with the politicians or the bankers or anything, because you wouldn't expect anything vision coming from them. It's the intellectuals or the progressives. They're all caught up with outdated thinking.
Who are people?
Who are people.
And that means that ultimately they are just like everyone else. That there are intellectuals on this side of the greed board and intellectuals on this side of the positive equation.
Wait a minute.
And they too are constantly at war trying to create the world the vision that they see for this world.
Do you ever see in letters 15 feet high going around Times Square the word by somebody in authority, real authority, saying there is enough? We've transcended scarcity.
No, I don't see that.
There is enough. We've transcended scarcity. There is enough. We've transcended scarcity. That's a context from which we could begin to start formulating our institutions. Because why don't we?
Well, there is enough.
No, there has not been until just recently did we cross the 50% mark in terms of technology. No.
Yeah.
Well, okay, if you say that, then you got a whole different thing. James Joyce said history is a nightmare. When we were wallowing around,
Joyce was an intellectual. He assumed that everything was based on an intellectual need. In point of fact, there are people who just want to live and let live, love and be loved. Yeah, there are people who just want to feed their families, and they're all over the world.
Got nothing to do with the fact that you.
Yes. There was a time and a place where you could build your own house. Believe me, if I could dump your world, if I could dump all of you cats, and provide for myself, I'd be like long gone. I'd get a guitar. I'd build my own house. I'd get my own food, and I wouldn't listen to a daggone thing you want. You could take HBO and stick it up your butt. Yeah, well, but I can't. I have to pay for water. I have to live in the world that exists now. There was a time when people, if they starved, it was basically because they chose to starve, because you could go and catch fish.
You can't catch fish anymore.
You can't do that no more. You gotta catch some money. You gotta catch money.
It's at a different level.
What do you do about the level?
Are you optimistic, pessimistic for the human prospect, gentlemen?
The problem you haven't dealt with is that even if there's enough for everyone, there are some people who still want to blow up the world.
Well, now people who want to blow up the world.
It doesn't matter.
Well, that's megalomania. That's
but they have the tools to do it. How do you stop that?
Well,
do we want to stop it?
Well, I don't know. Those people are people who have belief systems that are so built in that there is so much hatred that's dangerous, because they think their God is better than the other God.
So do we regulate
religion?
If they
well, that's
call
the
it
history
religion,
of the world. They call it religion, or it could be Marxism. Could be a religion.
Are we
to
wrong
some
in
people.
trying to regulate religion? If a religion wants to take the world and end it, are we wrong in trying to stop them?
Well, I don't know about that at all.
You're right. You should regulate.
I don't trust religion myself. I think that it's just a way to.
But some people want to blow things up, others don't.
I understand exactly what he's saying.
The point that's really interesting is that after 10,000 generations, I mean, that's pretty. Isaac Asimov, we did a program, we re-aired a little while ago, and he said it's incredible. This generation is the generation. Now, Cro-Magnon cavemen probably thought that because the mastodons were big or something, or they would say that, or 6th century. But this is the crucial moment, not in a quantitative little way, that if we get some little thing, the qualitative way. This is a qualitative moment, because we are either going to make a transition to where, in a Gaia sense, that there is elemental justice, which there's never been, there is not now, and so forth, whereas elemental justice, and every human being is we're either going to have to eliminate, or we're going to liberate the human society within an ecological context, both of which are at our capacity now that they've never been in the past. We lack for vision of how we're going to make that transition. What's your gambling if you're Nick the Greek? Do you think we're going to blow it all up?
Not all.
But it's a unique privilege to live at this particular time.
Some places are going to get blown up. There's what about
you think
Ebola virus?
Yeah, that's another thing.
So there's all sorts of catastrophes that will in fact kill a lot of people.
Okay, and it's different between killing a lot of people. We did it at Iwo Jima and at Dalco. We did it. The question is, and I don't know if it's true or not, it's just modeling, they could unleash weapons that would not leave a single human being. Well, do you think that's true?
I think it's true.
Do you think that's true at a model level?
I think that we will have.
You do not. You don't think we would? There'd be somebody survive in New Guinea or something. All out exchange.
I think that Mother Nature did that before, and we sprang back.
They didn't do it to us. Mother Nature never did that to you.
Well, I think the Ice Age,
Earth and bring it closer to the sun or something, and really mess things up for us.
Well, okay. Most of the species are extinct. Most of the species have gone extinct in the natural order of evolution and everything like that. But it's us unique who have been able to bring it about at our own hands because
I think our concept of time is very limited.
Okay, well, it's just crucial.
But again, to us, millions of years is unimaginable. To nature itself is a blink of an eye.
That's too easy, Nat. That's too easy because when like Isaac Asimov said, you can't get off that anymore. You can't get off on that. We'll slough it off to history. Or we can go, because it's become existentially new. And you can't get off on the other side, which is how are we going to be able to realize a situation that is liberating.
Isaac Asimov couldn't imagine the internet.
No, he did. He knew that. He had predicted. He predicted the robots.
He predicted this?
He predicted a good... Isaac Asimov was a polymath. Buckminster Fuller said the same thing. And that there's something going on. It's blowing in the wind, Bobby Dylan said back in 1970. They think those lines crossed about 1970. There was a transformation going on at the level of capability, and it's not being made manifest in terms of how we're going to reorganize or take it into account by the intellectuals, not the politicians or the bankers. It's not going to come from there.
How did man spring up in the first place?
Well, it just came out of came out of Africa, out of Homo habilis, up the hominoid line. We evolved 200,000 years ago in Africa.
Evolved. What is this word?
Evolved with the evolutionary...
Evolved from what?
Evolved from probably Homo habilis. It came up from Homo habilis.
Okay, so what you're saying is that life springs eternal, and that
well, I'm not sure about if we're going to destroy. We can't destroy life.
Can we level the planet? Yes. Can we kill almost everything that exists now? Yes. Can we end the ability of Earth to replenish itself? No.
Okay. Well, then, there will be something follow if we do. It's just that
maybe Earth needs to purge itself.
The reason to make the point is that the positive side, the fact that we have, if that's the case, and there's modeling to show it, that we have transcended scarcity in terms of our abstract, technologically augmented capability of providing. You got to get a definition of terms, you got a reasonable, all that kind of stuff. But if we've done it, why isn't it ever brought up? Why isn't it on letters that size and the evidence presented? There's evidence from things like that, because that is an alternate reality against which we could begin to formulate our very large pattern recognizing capabilities and in order to guide what we're going to do, if it's true, because it's only happened just yesterday. The ability to destroy it all and the ability to transcend material scarcity to where that's what economics and the law and all of that is about, the allocation of scarce resources.
But the desire to want to have the power to destroy it all has always been there.
Not to destroy the power. You're not destroying the power. You're protecting yourself and your tribe against them so you can go steal their grain like we've been doing in the name of war.
Or the power to destroy it all is the protection. And they've all, and somewhere...
But that's an outdated thing.
Yes, some people are no damn good. Well, and that's not going to change. Again, what we have is a war, literally a yin-yang existence that's going to be around forever.
Well, it's not going to be around forever with us in it if we do blow it up. And it's very hanging right on the edge. It really is.
You assume that if we blow it up, we'll never come back.
There would be no coming back, apparently. Now, it was not the case in the Second World War. We came back. We killed some people there. We killed some millions. We killed more and more. 9 deaths for every civilian death now. now. I mean, 9 civilian deaths for every soldier death at the end of this century used to be exactly the opposite. 19. It's gotten worse.
Then how did we evolve into what we are?
Well, we evolved through thermodynamics. Everything's thermodynamics and
how
evolution.
long did that take?
And it may be time for us to
and how long did that take?
We've been gestating in the womb, and it's time for us through punctuated equilibrium to come in there before.
How long did it take us to become what we are?
200,000 years.
200,000.